Welcome everyone. Today's episode brings up a very familiar name for many viewers. Iran-born American bariatric doctor Yuna No Zarenda, better known as simply Doctor Now, the star of the reality show, a highly respected professional and one of the pioneers of minimally invasive bariatric surgery in the United States. At a first glance, you might wonder what Dr. Now has to do with true crime. Don't worry, he's not involved in any criminal case himself. He appears in today's episode because he later operates on Mayra Rosales, a woman who became nationally known in the United States after being accused of killing her own nephew in 2008. The media labeled her the half-ton killer. The second story, we'll talk about Heather Pelham Jones, whose attempt to improve her quality of life led to consequences far darker than anyone could have imagined. My name is Diego. If you're curious about these two stories, make sure to leave a like, drop a comment, and let me know what you think of the content here on the channel. Check your notification, consider enjoy our members club, and follow us on Instagram. Now let's get into the facts. Mayra Lisbon and Anna Rosales was not an overriff child. Quite the opposite. She was a teen throughout her youth. According to her own memories, she was a slim teenager. It's impossible to determine with certainty what caused the drastic change in her body that eventually led to morbid obesity and brought her close to death. However, emotional trauma clearly played a major role. Note that when her father abandoned their family, Mayra was deeply affected. She described the experience as indescribable suffering. Food became her emotional refuge. Pain, frustration, and abandonment were all observed through the compulsive eating, and over time her rate increased dramatically. By 2008, when her name appeared in the national headlines due to a criminal investigation, Mayra hired an estimate more than 400 kilos. At that point, she had been bedridden for 2 years, confined to a king-size bed in her home in Texas, where she lived with her husband Bernie, her sister, and her nephews. Her legs could no longer support her body weight. Massive folds of skin made it impossible for her to stand or walk. She depended entirely on her husband for daily tasks, including personal hygiene. Like infants, her skin folds had to be clear and colorful to prevent infections. On March of 2008, tragedy struck. Elijah Jr., Mayra nephews, approximately 2.5 years old, was admitted to the intense care units of Rio Grande Regional Hospital in a coma. He had severe breathing difficulties and a serious head injury. Sadly, the child died 2 days later. In cases of suspected domestic violence involving minors, hospitals are required to notify the police. That is exactly what happened. Authorities arrested both sisters, the child's mother and aunt. Mayra Rosales, then 27 years old, was arrested on suspicion of murder. Her sister, Jamili, 22, was arrested for assault and negligence. It's important to note that earlier the same year, Child Protective Services had instructed Jamili not to leave her children alone with Mayra, as Mayra was physically incapable of carrying her down. Initially, Mayra claimed that her nephew had accidentally gotten his head stuck under her bed, and later she changed her story and said that while trying to pick him up, she slipped and fell on top of him, causing his death. He described it as tragic household accident. Medical professionals, however, were not convinced. Doctors stated that the child had suffered massive blunt force trauma to the head. Other injuries were also found, suggesting a pattern of abuse. There are no signs of suffocation, which would have been expected given Mayra's explanation. Despite inconsistencies, Mayra was sent to trial. If convicted, she faced the possibility of the death penalty. Media coverage confused heavily on her physical condition. She was detained inside her own home, as neither police station nor prison could accommodate her size. All policy procedures were conducted there. In March 2009, firefighters were forced to break through the wall of her home to remove her. In March 2009, firefighters were forced to break through the wall of her house to remove her and transport her to court. Her defense attorney, Sergio Valdez, searched the courtroom and purchased a king-size mattress so she could remain during the trial. However, Mayra initially claimed responsibility. Her lawyer never believed her confession. He suspected she was protecting someone. Medical evidence contradicted her story, and her physical immobility made it nearly possible for her to inflict such injuries. Eventually, Mayra admitted she had lied. The real perpetrator was her sister Jamil, a violent mother who physically abused Elijah on the morning of March 18. The child refused to eat breakfast, which enraged Jamil. She repeatedly beat him with her hairbrush on his arms, legs, and head. When the woman realized the severity of the injuries, they called emergency services. Before paramedics arrived, they agreed on a history. Mayra accepted the blame for two reasons. Jamil had other children, and Mayra no longer valued her own life due to her physical condition. Once the fruit emerged, Jamil fled to the country. She was later located in Veracruz, Mexico, but a private investigator extradited to the United States and sentenced to 15 years in prison for causing her son's death. Mayra, despite being comfortable with public exposure, was forced to confront her personal demons. Life regained meaning when she assumed custody of her sister's children. Documentaries about her case called the attention of weight loss specialists, including Dr. Now. This began an extraordinary transformation. No other time has the heaviest woman in the world Mayra committed to intense medical journey. Like many patients of the program, she was required to lose weight before the surgery. She did, quickly and decisively. Her treatment involved at least 11 surgeries, including gastric bypass, tumor removals, and excess skin removal. Through strict dietary changes, medical supervision, and rehabilitation, she lost an astonishing more than 300 kilograms. Remarkably, she suffered no long-term health complications. She developed no diabetes, no hypertension, and no cholesterol problems. Mayra described her survival and recovery as a miracle from God. Her life changed completely. She divorced, gained custody of her nephews, and in 2016 married Carlos de la Loza. They now live a peaceful life in Texas. The children celebrate every milestone of her recovery, especially the moment she stood and walked again. Millions around the world found hope in her story. And let's go move to the second case. Heather Palumbo Jones was an elementary school teacher at Fraser Achievement School in Memphis. She met her future husband Christopher Jones at the age of 19. Even she was already significant overweight, reported around more than 100 kilos. She couple built a family with 2 children, a boy and a girl. At some point, Heather decided to improve her health, lose weight, and reclaim her quality of life. While this decision might strengthen many marriages, it had the opposite effect on hers. Christopher was controlling, emotionally, and financially dependent, and reportedly struggled with substance abuse. As Heather gained confidence, Christopher felt increasingly threatened. Their marriage deteriorated, arguments escalated, and domestic violence became more frequent. Heather eventually left home with her children. After separated, she continued paying Christopher rent as he depended on her financially. One of his greatest fears was being replaced by a younger, more successful man. In January of 2013, the couple officially separated, Heather obtaining a protective order after repeated harassment. Friends warned her that Christopher was capable of killing her, himself, or both. On April of the same year, Heather was last seen alive. When she failed to show up for work the next day and could not be reached, her divorce hearing was scheduled for days later. Police found her house locked, organized, and without signs of forced entry. Her car was in the garage. Searches nearby yielded nothing. However, her phone, purse, and keys were missing. Christopher denied involvement, claiming her was depressed and suicidal. He even presented a mail suggesting she had chosen to disappear. Text messages sent from her phone reinforced that illusion, but they were later revealed to be fake. Days later, Heather's body was found near the highway. Identification required dental records. Her body had been wrapped in a hair mattress, bounds and burned beyond recognition. Christopher was arrested. The autopsy confirmed death by asphyxiation. He eventually confessed that during an argument, he strangled others to death. He admits sent fake messages after war. In 2015, he was convicted of second-degree murder and abuse of a corpse. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Little Lydia Jr. and Heather Palumbo Jones. But you also remember the strength and determination of Mayra Rosales and Heather herself, women who sought transformation, purpose, and dignity. Thanks for watching to the end. Leave your thoughts in the comments, support the channel, join our members club, and follow us on Instagram. I'll see you in the next episode.